boom, it was right in front of me the whole time. And both of these people, these women who I admire so much, were saying to me, why are you fighting the ease? You're allowed to let things be a little bit easier. And so I said, okay, it is time. In this season of my life, it is time to let this thing go that I love so much and welcome this new season of ease.
Welcome to Biggest Best Life, the podcast that dares you to dream big, live louder, and step fully into the rockstar life you are made for. You're not too late, you're right on time, and we're just getting started. Here's your host, Lauren Chapnick.
Hi, friend. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. I would love to invite you, if you haven't done so already, to text the word best life. That's one word, best life, to 833-681-6463 to join my text community. I send out different things each week, just little inspirational quotes, challenges, things that just give you that reminder, that extra little boost to stay in the zone, to take action, to change your life and live a happier, more fulfilled life. Just a little text every week. Join me there. Today, I want to pose a question and give you a little insight on something that's going on in my life and why it's relevant and why I know it will resonate with so many of you, because it doesn't just apply to my situation, it applies to so many different things, whether it's friendships, relationships, jobs, schedules. What do you do when something you love no longer fits your life? What do you do? So, let me tell you what's been going on. Today, the day I'm recording this, not the day it comes out, but today is my last day as an ER nurse. I have made the decision to change jobs. And as with many decisions in life, when you make one change, you're not just changing one thing, you're changing everything, right? It has this domino effect, this force, this momentum that just whoosh changes everything. And I have sought the advice of some of my mentors, two women who I admire and respect so much. And they both reminded me to follow my own advice. I don't know why it took hearing somebody else to say it, but you'll see what I mean. So I am stepping into a new role. I'm going to be a school nurse, and it makes sense for so many reasons. I have young kids, they're in first and fourth grade, to be on their schedule, to be off when they're off, and to be present with them, because these last several years have been years of sacrifice, of going to an intense nursing program, committing to a full-time ER nurse schedule with 12-hour shifts. And it's time. It's time in this season of my life to choose greater ease. And I'll get into the ins and outs of that. But first, I just want to share with you the things that I love so much about my job right now as an ER nurse, and why it was such a struggle, why it was so hard to make this decision. Because if a decision is difficult, it means that it's meaningful to you. If it was an easy decision, then it wouldn't really mean that much. It would be, like deciding what you're going to eat for breakfast. But this is a life altering decision. So this was not just something to take lightly. What I love about being an ER nurse, what I love about it is being there, being that first point of contact for that person that's in crisis, the person who's in pain, who had some sort of trauma, who is experiencing extreme vulnerability and fear. To have the privilege to be there for them, to give them not only that clinical knowledge and skill, but to literally hold their hand, cry with them, to give them that compassion that is so needed in the world of nursing, especially ER nursing, because you can be a robot. You can shut yourself off from the emotional side of things. And sometimes you have to, right? You can learn all of those skills. You can put in the IVs. You can titrate those meds. You can know all of the procedures and the machines that you need to learn. But if you don't have that human connection and compassion, then what are you doing this for? And it's such important work to me. It was so fulfilling. But I cannot deny the toll that it took on my body emotionally, spiritually, physically, and in turn, the toll that it took on my family. Because when you give that much of yourself to something for 12 hours, 3 to 4 times a week, that stress, that anxiety, that emotional toll, it lives in you. You can't melt down every time you see something sad. You wouldn't be able to function. So, what I found was these things were just starting to hit me at very inconvenient times, times where I wanted to be present with my family. I wanted to enjoy something with my kids. I found myself living in that place. And there were things that I could do to counteract that. But at a certain point, no matter how much yoga, meditation, healthy eating I did, it was still there. And you can't change the fact that no matter what way you slice it, you're gone for, you're working for 12 hours, 12 and a half hours, but you got to factor in commute time. You're gone for the day. And every time I said goodbye to my kids and I said, I will see you tomorrow, it broke my heart. And an opportunity came my way to be a school nurse. And I wanted to jump at it. It seemed like a no brainer, but it was a struggle. It was a tough, very tough decision because I struggled with, you know, who am I if I am not working in a hospital? Am I a legitimate nurse if I'm not working in a hospital? And of course, that seems silly, right? That seems ridiculous. But it became, it has become such a huge part of my identity. And here's the thing, you're not your job. Obviously, you're not this thing that you do. You are who you are in this moment. I'm still me if I am working at a school, if I'm not working at all. I'm just me. And I realized in speaking to these two amazing women in my life, I'll start with Joanne Kivlahan, one of my favorite professors of all time, now friend. She said to me, Lauren, there's such a culture in nursing. And honestly, it's not just in nursing, it's everywhere. There's a culture of just being so busy and being so tired and burnt out. And it's become almost this unspoken badge of honor. You ask any nurse or any mom or any person, any human, how are you? And what do people say? I'm good. I'm just so busy. I'm so busy, 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 busy. And it's like, okay, we know this. We're all busy. We all have tasks that we have to do. But it's like we've equated being busy with our value. And it's okay to enjoy your life. And it's okay for things to be easier if they can be. So, what Joanne said to me was, it's okay to have a little bit of an easier schedule and still love what you do. Let's not forget, I'm a nurse at heart. I'm just a caregiver. I've learned that about myself and I love that. I love that I get to do that not only in my family at home but in my job. I get to really truly love what I do. And whether it's in the ER or it's in a school and I get to see every age. I'm going to serve from kindergarten through high school. So I'll get to see all of it. And I'm so excited. I can lean into this easier schedule. I'm not saying the job's going to be a cakewalk. I'm sure it's not. But to be home with my kids and be at work when they're at school is going to be such a welcome change. So that was what she said. She said, "You're allowed to let things be easier for a while." And then Jerry Anathan, my business coach and life coach, said to me, "You know what, Lauren? This sounds like it's a schedule of ease. Why are you fighting the ease? It sounds to me like you're fighting the ease." And it was just such a light bulb. I said, "You're so right. I so am." And when I give talks, I have these 4 questions, and I said them in the pilot episode of this podcast. One of my 4 questions to find your purpose is number 1, how can this be easy? Boom, it was right in front of me the whole time. And both of these people, these women who I admire so much, were saying to me, "Why are you fighting the ease? You're allowed to let things be a little bit easier." And so I said, "Okay, it is time. In this season of my life, it is time to let this thing go that I love so much and welcome this new season of ease." And guys, this is not just an anecdotal story. This is not just something that I think. The science backs this up. Research shows that prolonged stress and overwork decreases emotional regulation and impairs decision making. It inhibits your decision making and makes you less capable of being emotionally regulated. Doesn't that make sense? When you have a few days in a row where you are just going, 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 and you're so stressed out, how are you able to regulate your emotions? You're not. You can't even make decisions. You get this decision fatigue or this brain fog where you just can't decide anything because you're just so overwhelmed. Listen, life is hard. If you can make it a little easier for yourself, do it. Welcome that change because you are going to find yourself in such a better place. Also, there have been occupational health studies done that said the more exhausted that you are, the less likely you are to use your recovery time well. Meaning, if you're burnt out and you're stressed out and you have a day off the next day, the less likely you are to use that time in a productive way. So you're probably going to stay in bed, binge watching Netflix and eating ice cream. Speaking from personal experience, not judging, but you are far less likely to use your time well, which makes it even more important to choose a life of ease when you can. I'm not saying everything is going to be easy. I'm just saying give yourself a break when you can because it's only going to boost your brain health. Neuroscience shows the more you rest, the more sleep that you have, that increases your memory, your creativity, and your emotional resilience. So, boom, if you're able to give yourself a little bit of a break, if something is saying to you, this thing that I love, it's just not working for me right now, it's draining for me right now. Not to say that maybe someday you can't go back to it. Who knows? But listen to those inner voices, those instincts that are saying, you know what? As much as I love fill in the blank, whatever this thing is, this is no longer serving me. What do I do next? So this fall, I am choosing ease. I have made this decision. I'm about to actually go in for my last shift, and I know it's going to be emotional, but I am choosing ease. I'd like to ask you, where in your life are you fighting the ease? Is there something that you can let go of and give yourself that little boost that you need for your brain health, for your mental health, for your family, for yourself. Where are you fighting the ease? Thank you so much for listening. I'm so excited to keep this conversation going week after week. We've got amazing guests coming your way and more one-on-one conversations just like this. Make it an amazing day. Trust your gut. And I'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Biggest Best Life. If today lit a fire in you, follow, review, and share it with someone who needs the spark. And remember to text Best Life, one word, to 833-681-6463 to get Lauren's weekly dose of motivation straight to your phone. Now go out there, live boldly, love wildly, and never settle for less than your biggest, best life.